Okay, so I'm Jeanie Barton. I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been working widely across the UK and even beyond occasionally in the jazz sphere. So jazz singing primarily with a band. I've got my own ensemble, multiple players that I am lucky enough to perform with at venues such as festivals and clubs and pubs, and primarily we earn our living doing functions, so weddings and corporate dues and so on. And yeah, that was life before, kind of travelling the country and doing a lot of driving and booking a lot of musicians and them reciprocating and booking me. And yeah, just lots and lots of live performance. Okay, so I met my husband in London when I was living down there for 16 years. And we had a boy 7 years ago, Elson. Um, he's over there. And yeah, and when he was 2, we decided to move up here to actually the house that I grew up in. So that was really like the circle of life, very Elton John. Um, and yeah, so we've lived in Nottingham now for 5 years again. Okay, so I'm an avid follower of news, so I knew about this when it first kind of arrived. I suppose they were talking about it right at the end of last year, weren't they? Because it's COVID-19, as in 2019. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of theories going around where it may have even been quite prevalent and even over here then or before. And I've had family members who've certainly had the symptoms, notably, you know, very high temperature ongoing. My mum, in fact, being one of them in February that she had this on Valentine's weekend when she was babysitting. It was a bit awkward. Anyway, yeah, I've never seen her so ill. And yeah, loss of taste and smell as well, which apparently is quite key to the condition. So who knows when this thing really was going round or started going round. So yeah, the lockdown, I could see it coming from a long way off, and especially, you know, working in functions and stuff, I got my finger on that pulse, you know, kind of really very concerned, more so than perhaps most, about how it would economically affect me and my colleagues. It was quite obvious that Cheltenham shouldn't have happened, and that was negligent, frankly. So yes, I've been following it very much in detail for a long time. Well, yeah, when lockdown eventually did arrive, as much as I'd been kind of braced for it, everything was just thrown in the air, wasn't it, really? Because suddenly I had no work for, you know, an indefinite period. and really still it's not exactly returned, although I do have a solo gig tonight where I'm playing the piano, just in quite a sparse place, obviously, you know. So until it's economically viable again, where people can make a profit, they're not going to spend money on entertainment, are they? You know, to pack the joint when you're not allowed to pack the joint. So yeah, everything just ground to a complete halt for me, and I became a stay-at-home mum slash teacher. And thankfully, you know, my husband's been around as well, Will, so he's been teaching as well. So we've shared that responsibility. And actually, it's gone a lot better, I think, than we anticipated. We were really worried about whether we could even do it, you know, because when you're teaching your own child in your own home, it's like that kind of because it's the same environment, and you don't really have that kind of discipline over them. Like, they associate their home with relaxing and playing and so on, to suddenly say, right, now it's work time, is a difficult adjustment to make. And I was expecting a lot of nagging and a lot of tantrums, and there were some. But actually, I did a little trick, actually, where I'm quite a fan of The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie as a film, as you well know. So on the first kind of week of doing this, I decided, how can I change his brain into this is school rather than this is just an ordinary home? So I put on my little 1930s round glasses and a Scottish accent, and I said, "Oh, Elson, it's time for school. Miss Musical is ready to teach now." And he sat down and so on. That wasn't a great accent, was it? But anyway, yeah, just kind of put this silly character on, really. And it got him laughing, but it also made him identify that this is a new thing. And we made a timetable as well. So for the O'Shea Academy. So we just, employed these kind of tricks to make it kind of fun but also focused, really.
So it sounds like you put a lot of thought into it then.
Yeah, a fair bit. I kind of borrowed ideas from other people, with the timetable and so on. That the family over the road, whose son is also in Elson's class, they did that, and she's a professional teacher as well. So, she's got all the skills at her disposal. I don't really have a background in teaching so much, although I have taught workshops and so on for jazz and improvisation and music theatre and stuff back in the day. So we used our imagination and just did reading, maths, obviously music. I've taught him piano, and you're embracing it, aren't you? Yeah, so there's a lot of silver linings, I suppose, to have come out of it, like new skills and a lot of more family time. Obviously, nothing but family time.
How have you fared with that, with sort of the four walls and having to stay indoors?
Well, fortunately, it's been fine because we have a garden, and the weather, like there was this lockdown heat wave, wasn't there, as well? So actually, it was not as hard as I would have thought. I can imagine it would be a lot worse in winter if you can't go out, like that four-wall syndrome. But, we just got on with it and enjoyed the garden and enjoyed the house. I think a lot of people spend, particularly, in my job as well, I'm going out to all these places so much. I don't really get that much time just to kind of chill and enjoy home. So, there are, kind of bright things to come out of it. It's not been as bad as I thought it might be. I was very depressed at the beginning, very depressed. But I also started a lockdown project as well to keep myself, keep my spirits up, because obviously I was missing playing with the band and everything. And so I started a project called Lockdown Lifts, where I was taking requests, and I'm still doing it actually, taking requests from people and then learning on the piano whatever song. I mean, all genres, like I've done rock, I've done funk, I've done thrash metal, actually, weirdly. And so now I've got a book full of songs that I've kind of prepared as arrangements, my own arrangements of these numbers. So there's another positive to come out of it, because now I've got hours worth of material where I can go out and play solo, whereas prior I only really had the music that I'd written, like the songs I'd written, and I hadn't concentrated on playing covers of anything, because I normally just get in the professional, pianists or guitarists or whatever to accompany me for those kind of gigs. But now, actually, I'm more than capable of doing solo shows for, 2-3 hours.
So that's been a real positive then.
It has, actually, and I wouldn't have had the chance, I don't think, in my previous routine to really focus on that. I thought that train had sailed, as Austin Powers would say. But so I am actually a better musician now, I think, than I was before. Yeah,
really good.
Really good.
A real positive, to be fair. I mean, I usually ask about the positives, and that sounds like it's been a fabulous one.
The negative, of course, is losing about 10 grand's worth of money. So.
Yeah, to be fair, it's the little positives.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So just picking up on a couple of bits then, just in terms of Elson's education, are you one of these people that feel like his education has suffered by being homeschooled, or do you think that the different things he's done and the time he spent with you have been good for him?
I think it depends what you might consider as education. So, for instance, I think academically he's probably doing better now than he was in school, because to have one-to-one tuition on something, it really pushes you a lot harder. And obviously, as much as his school is actually excellent, there's quite a lot of them in there, so they don't get the focused attention that you do get from homeschooling from two parents and one child. We were pushing him quite hard. So I'd say academically he's probably doing better perhaps than he would have done now. Certainly with something like music, which he wasn't even getting tuition with at all. But I think in a kind of social respect, things like, just being socialising, like that is detrimental, obviously, to be isolated. Although FaceTime and so on have stepped in there, which is great. Wow, at least we have that technology. But also doing kind of, I don't know, sports or more kind of creative and interactive things have probably suffered. So he's really looking forward to going back to being with his friends and to doing group activities.
I know that your mum lives next door, so
Yeah.
Did you form a bubble with your mum, given that she...
We did, because we did generally see her every day anyway before lockdown, so it just didn't make sense to isolate her when she's literally, you know, just the other side of the garden. So we did incorporate, hope I'm not admitting to some kind of terrible rule breaking here, but it's like the granny annex. We incorporated that as our house, if you see what I mean. But obviously we didn't go anywhere outside of there.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
that wasn't meant to trip you up. I think
yeah.
to me that seems like
it just wouldn't have made sense. But we couldn't go and see my auntie Jean, who's 93, but she's got carers that come like 3 times a day to her farm where she lives in North Nottingham. So but that was really hard, to be separated from her for more than 6 weeks. And even now we can't hug her or anything, you know. So it's, you know, I feel terribly for people who've been separated from their close family and their loved ones. I mean, my father died quite a while ago, as you know, and so we've only got my mum. Also, my husband's parents died a long time ago. So, yeah, she's like the grandparent, really. So we didn't isolate her. We included her in our household.
And that must have been good for all of you, I guess.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And just to be able to go just a few feet over there is like, you know, trip out in comparison to being stuck in. I've really felt for people who are, you know, kind of don't have a garden or didn't have anywhere, like they were just stuck in their room.
You touched on the fact that at the beginning you were quite depressed. Was that a work-related depression?
Yeah, it was like an existential kind of thing, like, because I think because of having my finger on the pulse when it comes to, you know, the news and so on. You can probably absorb too much news. That does get depressing, doesn't it? But I couldn't quite see when we were heading down this road, and I still can't quite see how we're going to get out of it. Now, I know pandemics such as the Spanish flu and the Hong Kong flu lasted 2 years, and then it seems as though there was some kind of herd immunity after that, and it just dissipated. But what you read about this condition is that when you've had it, you're not immune. And that really still worries me, because I don't think on that basis that they can potentially even create a vaccine, because vaccines give you immunity. But if you aren't immune if you've had it, anyway, I'm not a virologist. But I am concerned as to how we get out of this, and whether there will ever be, you know, festivals and functions again. And if there aren't, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. I've got to earn money. I need to perhaps retrain. I need to completely rethink my life. It's getting me emotional thinking about it, because there's nothing else that I really want to do or can do. So difficult.
Incredibly difficult. Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you a little bit about what you thought next, but obviously you've just answered the question there.
Well, it crushes your self-worth, because if you think that everything you've done, you know, doesn't really have a purpose anymore. So that's why, you know, that's why the lockdown lifts and everything really helped, because I felt like I was making people happy again.
So that sounds like, I mean, obviously you've talked about that in terms of what it would do for your sort of gigs moving forward, but it sounds like actually that was really good for your mental health as well.
Yeah. I think, you know, a lot of musicians, obviously, most of my friends are musicians or artists or whatever, and we're all over emotional. It's like, you can't do this job, you know, communicating emotion and so on if you're like Dad used to say, our well is near the top. But yeah, so I think it's been particularly hard, you know, because those particular spheres, the entertainment section, we are in the worst position potentially economically of any, you know, business to be affected by this. Venues, obviously, but a lot of people who run venues also are kind of performers, like the people who run Peggy's Skylight. And yeah, it's quite terrifying. I can only hope that they come up with, treatments and so on that make this a lot less severe than it currently appears to be, in which case people will then have the confidence and so on to book us again and to have, have fun again. But when you see, things like no dancing allowed, it's so dystopian. I just never thought I'd read that in my lifetime. So that I didn't really see coming. Yeah.
So how does it feel then tonight to be going out to do a gig?
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to practice when we've done with this interview. Going to do some more practice, and yeah, it just feels good to to entertain and to. I mean, there's probably a lot of ego with it. It's nice to get a round of applause and everything, but to me, it's more about making other people happy. That makes me happy. So, yeah.
Elson. Do you want to come over and tell us a little bit about what it was like in the O'Shea Academy?
Sit forward.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what was it like for you then, Elson? Homeschooling. What was it like when you had to come home?
Very good.
It was good. Were Mummy and Daddy good teachers? Mm-hmm. So what sort of things did you enjoy about your timetable for school?
You don't remember what you were doing. It's all gone now.
It's all gone.
Well, you enjoyed doing times table square, didn't you? When we made a times table square, that was like an epiphany. And reading, what did we read? What books have we read together?
He's forgotten.
Famous Five.
Famous Five, yeah. We've read
You like
lots of
Famous
Famous Five books. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And what was the one with the aeroplane?
Grandad's Great Escape.
That's it. I read that as well. Bit of Second World War stuff.
So what's it been like doing music with Mummy?
Good.
Yeah?
What piece have you learned? What piano piece?
Mark Staccato. Nearly finished it.
Bach Staccato in what key?
D minor.
There's a proud Mummy.
Nearly finished it.
Yeah, almost done it now.
Have you enjoyed having a break from school, Elson? Yeah. Are you looking forward to getting back though? What have you missed most about school?
The playground.
Is that the playground because your friends are there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which friends have you missed the most?
Well, basically, I nearly saw all of them on FaceTime. Well, normally FaceTime Austin. I'm in the bubble with Austin, so
We haven't seen Rohan, have we? We were asking
Yeah.
about Rohan. We
Yeah.
don't have his contact
Yeah.
details.
Yeah.
So hopefully you see him.
Yeah, Alfie.
Yeah, Alfie we've not seen much of, no.
So it's your friends you've missed more than anything then?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you've enjoyed homeschooling generally and spending more time with Mummy and Daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anything else you want to say, Elson?
I don't know.
That's alright, you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Don't break the thing. Stop pickling.
I'm just waiting to see if he comes out of his shell a little bit, but I don't think you're going to, are you?
No, you've gone all shy,
You've
haven't
gone
you?
all shy boy, haven't you? You're
Yeah.
not normally shy. Are you going? Anything that you don't feel we've covered? Anything that's
I don't know really, no. I mean, I just hope there's a way out of this situation and that I'm, not a completely redundant person from here on in. Redundant. Get in the sea. You've seen that Twitter account? It's quite funny. Get in the sea.
Get in the sea, no. So have you given any sort of serious thought to what you might do next, or is that just not a place you can let your brain go to? If this...
I'm not willing to let go of this yet. I've spent too long working on it and building that up. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested, as you might imagine. My husband's a property developer, so I'm interested in doing property, and I'm really interested in kind of interior design and so on. So I can see myself maybe going down that road. But again, economically, the whole, with a no-deal Brexit potentially happening as well at the end of this year, I'm really unsure as to whether this, is the right time to invest, you know. Feel like I'm on a precipice economically somehow. So I'm just waiting. But yeah, and potentially might go in that kind of direction. It's nice to make homes for people. I think if someone can be happy in a home you've made, I think that's probably as rewarding as, you know, doing a show at a wedding and everyone jumping up and down.
I always find it quite strange that we're actually, it's like where I'm sitting right now is not a million miles from where your dad sat all those.
Yeah,
so this,
in his
you know,
chair just there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
I'm kind of almost in that place, and
Yeah.
the sofa was there and the TV and everything.
It is
I don't
really.
know, it always just, this room always feels like home to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that why you set your music up there? Is this a room for you that feels...
Well, no, I think once we opened it out here, because we never really used that room, did we, apart from wild parties? I think basically that's like the wild party room, and I always found that such a shame because of the stained glass and actually a more grand fireplace and everything in there, that we always used to be in this smaller room. So to open it out, obviously naturally, like the main living space we kind of made in there. In fact, that's something else I've done during lockdown, is I had lockdown blues. So I got paint fever, and I've painted, you know, the chimney breast there in a lockdown blue, and did a bit of interior design. I added to my chandeliers that I made out of little acrylic beads and things, and just, you know, kind of tinkering about. Yeah. I just like doing things like that. But yeah, this area naturally lent itself more to a dining area, and yeah, it's just like his toys ended up in there because I'd rather that was away from where we have to dine, and then, you know, obviously clearing this area before you can eat and everything. So yeah, the piano just ended up here. It wasn't very planned. Just kind of evolved this way once we'd changed
So I'm going to be really cheeky now, and please feel free to say no, but I wondered whether you might, you know, your lockdown lifts, whether there's one that you might perform for us right now.
Oh, I could do, yes, if you want. Yeah, I could do the one I wrote at the beginning of lockdown that kind of went viral. Shooby-dooby-doo, shooby-dooby-doo-doo, shooby-dooby-doo, shooby-dooby-doo-doo-doo. Mr. Quarantino, what you doing tonight? Staying in your home because it's germy outside. Have you got some pasta and some bog roll for two? And log into Pornhub with your blue attitude. Best to keep romance and no time to be a prude. We gotta think of ways of lifting up our mood. Binging on the many shows on Netflix is fun. Just keep getting up though or you'll get a number. Maybe learn an instrument to challenge your brain. Keep the grey cells working or you will go insane. Tending to your garden every hour or two. It will look like Chatsworth by the time this is through. Lift your mood, that's what I'm saying. Stay busy, that's why I'm playing Contribute to your life daily. You gotta keep your chin up while we're in a lockdown. Don't be sad, it's not forever. Times are bad, but they'll get better. We just got to stick together. Support your friends and all your neighbors.